The cops pulled up to my house with lights flashing, telling me my son was under arrest for ignoring an HOA fine, all because of a damn basketball hoop. And behind it all was Amanda Blackwood, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood. What she didn't know: my wife was about to end her entire empire with one sentence. Act 1. The conflict begins. I'm David Mitchell. On paper, we were living the dream. Nice house, clean neighborhood. My son Lucas finally had the kind of place where college scouts might actually show up. But let me tell you, this dream was duct taped together with ramen dinners and late nights coding just to keep up with the mortgage. Lucas, my pride and joy, 17 years old, a rising basketball star. His hoop, a portable one his grandfather gave him. It stood in our driveway like a monument to his future. Simple right. Not to Amanda Blackwood. HOA President Mansion on the corner, silk robe that probably cost more than my car. If you took every stereotype of a Karen and cranked it up to 11, you'd get her. She walked around like she owned the block, and technically as head of the HOA she kind of thought she did. The trouble started the night Lucas forgot to roll his hoop back into the garage. Just one night. Next morning, a letter taped to our door. Fine, $200. With words dripping in contempt. Certain families need to remember community standards. Property values depend on appropriate residence. I was stunned. I thought maybe if I explained neighbor to neighbor, she'd back down. So I walked to her front door, tried to be calm. She looked me over like I was dirt on her shoes and said, "Rules are rules. Maybe you'd be happier in a neighborhood more suited to your lifestyle." I came home fuming, ready to fight. But Betty, my wife, just sat there sipping coffee, calm as a still pond. She said, "Document everything. Don't react. Let her make mistakes." And that threw me. 'Cause honestly, we didn't have $200 to spare. But she just gave me this strange little smile like she knew something I didn't. The next week, Amanda turned up the heat. More notices. Bigger fines. She started inspecting our property daily, taking pictures like she was a one-woman surveillance squad. Lucas got scared to even shoot hoops. He'd look over his shoulder like he was committing a crime every time he bounced the ball. Meanwhile, Betty kept busy. Odd late-night calls, notebooks with government seals, talking about things like certified male harassment law, paper trails. She brushed it off. Just consulting work. But it didn't sound like consulting. It sounded like legal strategy. And that's when I realized Amanda wasn't just a pain. She was building a case. Act 2. Escalation and turning point. Amanda escalated into full harassment mode. She recruited neighbors, whispered poison about us on evening walks, filed bogus reports, excessive noise at 3 p.m. unauthorized gathering when Lucas had 2 friends over. Susan, a nurse down the street, pulled me aside. "She's asking neighbors about your finances. She's desperate, trying to push families out so she can buy cheap." That's when it clicked. Amanda wasn't defending rules, she was hunting prey. I was furious. I wanted to storm over and scream in her face. Betty stopped me every time. "Patience," she'd say. "Let her hang herself." But my patience snapped the day 2 cop cars pulled up in front of my house. Here's how it went down. Lucas was outside with friends shooting hoops, laughing like kids do. Amanda stormed across the street, phone in hand, spewing venom. "You people need to learn respect. This used to be a decent neighborhood." The boys stayed calm. They didn't give her what she wanted. So she stepped back and dialed 911. I watched from the window as she put on the performance of a lifetime, crying about weapons and drug-dealing teenagers. Within 20 minutes, cops rolled up like we were hosting a cartel in our driveway. The whole neighborhood gathered to watch. My chest was pounding. I was picturing my kid in cuffs, college dreams gone in an instant. But then Betty walked outside, and something changed. "Ma'am, don't I know you?" One officer asked, his tone suddenly careful, respectful. Betty didn't flinch. She asked for report numbers, spoke in legal jargon, handled the officers like she'd done it 100 times before. Meanwhile, Amanda's story crumbled. First it was weapons, then maybe drugs, then noise. The officers weren't buying it. Amanda left sputtering threats about lawyers and the media, and I stood there staring at Betty, wondering, who the hell did I marry? That night, while I paced, ready to give up, Betty was calm. I remember snapping at her. "We're drowning here. We can't win this. Maybe we should just sell and leave." I hated myself for saying it, but it was true. I felt like I'd failed my family. Betty just touched my arm and whispered, "Trust me. I know exactly what I'm doing." The next morning we got served. Amanda had filed a lawsuit, civil harassment, property damage, restraining orders. She came at us with an attorney who probably billed more per hour than I made in a week. I panicked. "We can't afford this, Betty. We'll be crushed." And that's when she disappeared into the bedroom, came back with a leather case I'd never seen. She opened it and pulled out a law degree. Not a certificate, a real embossed official law degree. My jaw hit the floor. "I never told you," she said, "because I wanted to be a wife, not a lawyer. But I think it's time Amanda met the real me." In that moment, I went from despair to hope. For the first time, I thought maybe, just maybe, we had a shot. Act 3. The Showdown. Court day. The place was packed. Neighbors filled the benches like it was reality TV. Amanda strutted in with her high-priced lawyer dripping in jewelry, smirking like she'd already won. When our case was called, Amanda's lawyer went first, waving photos of a basketball hoop like they were murder evidence. He droned on about safety risks, property values, community standards. The judge's face neutral but skeptical. Then Amanda herself took the stand, trying to justify that 911 call. She twisted her story so many times even her lawyer looked embarrassed. And then Betty stood. I swear the entire room shifted. She introduced herself as Betty Williams. The judge actually smiled like they knew each other professionally. Betty laid out our case like she'd been preparing for months. Audio recordings of Amanda's discriminatory comments. Testimony from Susan about Amanda's profit scheme. Financial documents showing Amanda was drowning in debt trying to flip properties for profit. Piece by piece, she dismantled Amanda's entire facade. Amanda's face drained of color. Her attorney shuffled papers, whispering frantically. The judge finally slammed the gavel. Case dismissed. Sanctions imposed. Filing false police reports may result in criminal charges. Amanda looked like she'd been punched in the gut, but it wasn't over. 2 days later, Amanda barged into the police station demanding real justice. She screamed at the police chief about corruption, threatened to go to the media. And then, the door opened. In walked Betty, not in jeans and sneakers, in a tailored suit, government badge clipped to her case. County manager. The chief stood up immediately. "Thank you for coming, Ms. Williams." Amanda froze. You could see the gears grinding in her head as she realized the woman she'd harassed for months was the very person who controlled the budget and oversight of the police department. Her voice cracked. "Wait, who are you?" Betty looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm Betty Williams, county manager, and I'm also the mother of the boy you've been harassing." Amanda gasped. "That's impossible. You're just a housewife." Betty leaned in, calm as stone. "That was your first mistake, Amanda. Game over." And just like that, the mighty HOA queen crumbled. Final line, the lesson. Never underestimate quiet people. They might hold more power than you could ever imagine.